Gotcha.
Ashante, we have another call. This is Howard from the South Carolina area. Hi, Howard. How are you?
I'm doing just fine.
Well, super. So we understand there's a custody situation. Who's been vaccinated with the adults and who hasn't, and how is that playing out?
My wife is vaccinated and I'm not, and she doesn't think it's safe for the babies to be with me on the weekends anymore because I'm not vaccinated.
And what's your custody now? What's the situation? So do you have them
She gets
every
them
weekend?
during the weekdays, and I get them during the weekends.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Gotcha.
And so, Howard, does your wife live in South Carolina as well?
Yeah.
Okay. And so, what I will say is, first of all, I'm not licensed in South Carolina. I'm only over here in Georgia. I can give you some basic information, though. I know at least for Georgia, as I stated before, like as far as COVID, it's not going to be a reason to keep the children from visiting with one parent or the other. And so I would think, similarly, neither is vaccination status or vaccine status. If she is not allowing you to see the kids on the weekends because you're not vaccinated, my advice, to you would be to hire an attorney and go back to court and even file maybe a motion for contempt, because if you all have a parenting plan, or if the court has ordered a certain visitation schedule, and if that visitation schedule is for you to see your children every weekend from whatever time to whatever time, and she's saying no, you can't see them, then she's in violation of that order. Technically, a judge has not said that you have to get vaccinated to see your kids, and I don't anticipate a judge saying that. And so I think you would need to, file a motion for contempt, hire an attorney, talk to an attorney about that over in South Carolina.
Ashante, my world and my area of law, damages is huge. What are the damages, and how do you collect on the damages? And this just kind of struck me. So what are the damages there? If how do you collect, or how do you change things if the other parent isn't saying, yeah, you can see your child, and the court says you can? What do you do?
What I tell people is that you have to understand, sometimes, so when there's a parent that is not allowing another parent to have visitation, or the proper visitation, or is not following a schedule, that's an issue for contempt. And there have
because we're lawyers, but what does that mean?
Basically saying that you have failed to abide by the court's orders, and you're in trouble.
That's right.
And so, what can happen is, I have seen judges, I've had this happen in my cases, where a judge has changed custody because one parent was not allowing another parent to see a child, and continuously not allowing that parent to see that child. That's interference with custody. And you can't do that. Once a judge, has an order, that's the order that is there, and you have to follow that order. There have been times when, if a person is held in contempt, that person can go to jail. That person would have to pay attorney's fees. Mm-hmm. That person can be sanctioned with other fees. There's a whole host of things that can happen. And so I think, people have to understand, you have to be very careful when you are making decisions about visitation, about custody, about what you are and are not going to allow, because there is an order, and that order is there for a reason. And judges expect for parents to abide by that order,
sure.
Unless, like I said, there's a mutual agreement as to otherwise between those two parents.
Right.
Well, Ashante, on the other side of the break, we're going to